My guest today is a trained journalist with 20 years of experience under her belt, dropped the mic in 2020 and participated in the NRM primaries, which she is alleged to have lost to then incumbent Bududa District Woman Member of Parliament. But Nandutu returned as an independent in 2021 general elections, and guess what? She swept that election. She was later appointed by the appointing authority, you know who that is, to be the minister in charge of Karamoja within the Prime Minister's office. Welcome to NBS Face Off, Agnes Nandutu.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
On a very light note, when did you decide that you will elongate that first name? Why Agnes, not Agnes Nandutu?
I've always told the people, they think I create it, but people who grow from mountains understand me. Okay. Because when you are on top of the mountain and you're calling somebody who is on the lowland, you have to prolong the name. Okay. And say, Kasumba, like that. Okay. So it is Agnes Nandutu. So you either call upstairs on top of the mountain. Okay. If you just say the voice will just stop in the middle of the hill, and the person will not hear.
Very interesting. Good explanation. Now, let's get into the meat of this. Yeah. How did you end up a loser in the NRM primaries only to come back and sweep it?
It was terrible. It was theft, I call it. It was theft of the highest order, money exchanging hands with the register of the district. Definitely, I couldn't stomach that. That's why I decided to come as an independent, because I knew the election was fraudulent. Okay.
You seem to be shocked that there was theft in an NRM primary. But as a journalist, you must have covered stories of a chaotic NRM primaries.
I did. I have done.
So how do you cover stories of a chaotic primary and then you go into that same primary expecting it to be free and fair?
You see, I expected it and I predicted and warned them that if you steal my vote, I would come as an independent. I knew what happens in the NRM primaries because I had covered them for a long time in a number of districts. But you know, the people of Bududa are predominantly NRM. And for me to represent them, I have to be NRM. So I said...
So you didn't have a choice anywhere to go? Even if you had wanted, for the fact that you were going to Bududa, you had to be yellow?
NRM. So I decided to go into it. But I knew it was going to be 50. That's why when I was interviewed somewhere on a certain radio and they asked me, what will happen if you don't win? I told them, I will win. If I don't win, that will mean they have stolen the vote and I will come back as an independent. And indeed, I did.
Why is it very easy to steal an election of somebody as popular and firebrand as Agnes Nandutu? Money given to who?
To the registrar of the district. By the incumbent.
And let me ask, for those of you in the NRM, how can somebody buy an election and the NRM tolerates them and they stay in the election?
That is what we are fighting for. Because as long, I have even told the party electoral commission chairman, Tango Doi, I have told him, if those individuals are not removed from Bududa, I will not participate in NRM primaries anymore. Because I can't tolerate...
Even as a minister?
Yeah, the constitution allows me to go as an independent.
Okay.
I cannot go into an election with people who have stolen me before and I go and participate in it again. They will do the same. Because me, I'm not willing to buy an election, even if I have the money. I'm not willing to pay money for me to win. I want the mandate of the people. So as long as those people are not removed from Bududa, I will not participate in NRM primaries. That one I have told them clearly.
Do you trust that the party has the political will and resolve to clean this process? Because what is very clear is that one election after the next in the NRM, chaos and violence is on the rise. And I can predict that in 2025, there will be more violence in NRM primaries than there was in the last election we saw.
If the party is prepared and does not want to have the majority of the independents in parliament, we have to clean the system. Because we are now very many independents in parliament. Why? Because of the fraudulent electoral commission. because of buying of the votes. People opted to come as independent.
Do you have
and there
a
are
feeling?
very many, and I tell you, if we do not clean the system, we shall have even more in the next parliament.
So are you saying that there is going to come a time when there are more members of parliament leaning NRM independent more than more NRM?
But there is already evidence. We are very many. So what will happen next time if the theft continues to happen in the party primaries?
How do you love a party that cheated you?
It is an individual who cheated me, because it is not the party that took the money. We have a very strong party, but the people who are involved in organizing elections are the corrupt people.
Do you have a very strong...
Just as you say, government is not corrupt, but it's the people in the system who are corrupt.
Do you have a very strong party or a strong chairman?
Very strong. We have a strong party. That's why it has been in power for all this time, and we are still in power. We have a very strong chairman of the party who is, first of all, against corruption. And that is why he has been here for this long, and that is why he will continue to lead this country.
But he won't fire persons involved in corruption. He can.
He does. What has happened to Uganda Airlines? He has fired them. This time, the result is no corruption in the next 5 years. If you are corrupt, bye-bye. Leave the party and go.
So you have a feeling that by the time we get to the next election, the NRM party will have been cleaned of corruption. Is that the feeling you have?
That's why we now have a very strong Secretary General of the party, Honourable Trudong, right? Honourable Trudong.
Are you saying the first one was weak? Your
No,
statement has implications.
Yeah, he wasn't
You say
weak.
that's why we now have a strong Secretary General. That's a statement, an indictment on the one that has left.
No, it doesn't mean that she was weak. She was
By implication, it does.
She was a very strong lady, by the way. The first lady.
Led the party that cheated you.
No, it is not the party that cheated me. It was an individual, and I want to say it was the district registrar who cheated me.
Not working for the opposition. The party left him there.
I think he was working for the opposition. Maybe.
So the NRM doesn't have systems to clean itself?
It is cleaning already.
Okay.
We are already cleaning. And by the next election, the system will be clean. I tell you, everybody who participated in the theft of NRM elections will leave the party. We are very resolved on that.
Okay. So now that you say this, can I say with certainty that by the next election, you're going to be running as a candidate of NRM? And if you are beaten by the system of NRM, no independence?
I will come as an independent because I'm sure by the time I go back into elections, the people who were corrupt, who stole my elections, will have left the district.
Okay.
NRM party. That one I'm sure they will have left.
If they're there?
If they don't leave, they will leave. And I will demand it. They should leave because there is evidence. How can somebody lose an election and then in the general election I win? It was a clear indication that I was stolen. And I was not
maybe
the
they
only
will say you
person.
bought the election, the general election.
No, I didn't. Did I have the money to buy an election? If I didn't have money to buy the flag, did I have the money to buy the election? Me, it was a no-money campaign in Bududa.
I'm told that those district, the persons who manage those registrars at the district are literally semi-gods there. And in some cases, they can tell somebody that you've got nowhere to go. If you don't come to my office, you'll see what I will do to you. Have you heard of these sorts of things?
Is it in the Electoral Commission or in the party in the party?
No, I mean that at the grassroots.
No. No. If it was that, I wouldn't have gone through as an independent MD. Because first of all, I didn't have
the people managing the registrars for the party at the district, I'm told they are semi-gods.
True, they are. They are. That one, I no secret, they are. And I will say it, I have said it, and I will say it that the people at the registrar in Bududa, they were corrupt, they are corrupt.
You mean the NRM register?
Yes.
So do you think it was
particularly in Bududa.
Do you think it was a good thing when the chairman announced that we can go on and vote minus the registers?
I think he had his own reasons. He had his own reasons. And in places where elections went well, it was okay. In places where there were no corrupt registrars, the elections went well. But this only became worse in places where we had district registrars who are corrupt. And who were accepting money to give the flag to people who had the money.
So finally, as we get out of this, do you think it is a good thing? Fire all district registers of the NRM.
Not all of them.
And fire all of them, then get everybody applying again and then clean the system. Those who are good will certainly come back. Do you think that's a good approach?
I don't think so, because there are some registrars who are really good.
But they will come back if they are good. They will come back.
No, you remove the bad seeds, you remove the bad apples, and you leave the good ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming back to NBS Face Off, and when we come back, we'll be talking her new docket. We're talking Karamoja, and I can tell you, from what I already know, she seems to know more Karamoja than she does the place where they eat malewa when we come back. It is NBS Face Off, and I am facing off with somebody who has also been in the business of facing off with others. She is now a minister within the Prime Minister's office docket. Karamoja, her name is Agnes Nandutu. Honourable, what will be your priorities when you hit the ground running? I know you already have.
There are many things that the Prime Minister's office has prepared for Karamoja. First of all, you know, other governments left Karamoja behind. It's only this government that has said no. With affirmative action, they gave it a ministry, Karamoja ministry, because the president thought it well that Karamoja should develop. I had many priorities, but now the priority is security as I speak.
Okay.
Karamoja is not good as we speak. There was disarmament from 2001, and there has been peace for the last 15 years. Very good peace in Karamoja. But now, insecurity has slowly returned to Karamoja. Okay. And as I speak now, the raids are going on, the killing of innocent people, and the guns have come back to Karamoja.
Where do they come from your understanding of things?
From the neighboring districts, and we are going to resolve that because we have a memorandum of understanding with Kenya. The guns are coming from Turkana, from our neighbors, but through Panya roads, not that the government is supporting it,
okay.
But the rustlers themselves. As you know, they have very close links with the Pokot and the Turkana. So the guns are slowly coming in, and the raids are going on. But as I speak now, when I came into the ministry, it was my number one priority that peace should return in Karamoja. We discussed a number of things with the head of state, with the security, and now there's additional deployment, and the raids are slowly coming down. So I am on my way. Actually, the plane is waiting. Very soon, I'm going to be in Karamoja. Let me say next week, I'll be in Karamoja to handle those issues. Okay,
and of course, the roads are being done. There was a time I went to Karamoja, and there was issues with transport. It rains, you don't go. But now, all that has changed. But coming back to disarmament, I'm very keen on that.
Yeah.
I've had somebody tell me that sometimes you think you have disarmed persons, and what happens is they give you the one gun and keep two.
That is true, but we are keen on that. We have the information, the security has information. But you know, government thought it well to have voluntary disarmament, and it worked well. It worked well. Even now, we are going for voluntary disarmament, and they are really giving us the guns. The security has so far about more than 5 guns that have been handed in to the division commander.
This week alone, I think I reported the story.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, the guns are being handed, and with a seal. So we are calling them to bring the guns, and we resettle them. They begin doing agriculture. We want Karamoja to feed the Karamoja.
Get the Karamojong away from cows to growing plants? Is that going to work?
It has happened for the last 15 years. There were not raids. There were no raids, but they have survived. It can be done, and it's being done as I speak now. There is a lot of land in Karamoja. We have dams. We have dug there, valley dams. We shall continue to do that. By the end of these 5 years, Karamoja is feeding Karamoja. We are in now the phase 2 of Karamoja feeds Karamoja. Previously, the Mbale was a food basket for Karamoja, but as I speak now, people are engaged in agriculture. So we want peaceful disarmament. If those ones who think they will not give us the gun peacefully, we shall take them away from them by force.
Okay.
And we are determined.
Talking by force, I'm told those Karamojong also understand force and they don't really mind it.
But government is more powerful than a warrior.
Do the warriors also think that way?
Yeah, they think so, but government in power is more powerful than a person. And that is why we took the guns from.
So you're sounding a warning that you either give us the guns or you will give us the guns.
Force. Definitely, we do not want a small part of Uganda to be insecure. Uganda is now secure from the north up to the east, up to the west. We are peaceful. We cannot allow just a small part of the country to be insecure. So we want to ensure that the entire country is secure, and we shall do that. And the guns, within no time, there will be no guns in Karamoja. And the cattle rustling is going to stop.
And I'm emphasizing that in my camera. The Honourable Agnes Nandutu is being point blank here. That you in Karamoja, you either bring the guns or they will get the guns anyway, and the government is more powerful than the warriors. There are plans to build a 10,000 square hectare of lake in Karamoja sub-region to deal with boosting food production. This sounds a very interesting dream. Aren't we already in heaven?
It has already started, by the way. Honourable Bagam had already started on it on a policy issue. But you know what the flooding that takes place in Teso, the water comes from Karamoja. When it rains in Karamoja, Teso gets flooded. Just as when it rains in Mbale, Buteleja gets flooded. So we want to trap this water.
Okay.
We want to trap this water and put it somewhere. Even part of the insecurity in Karamoja is because of water. They go on looking for water in different places. So as part of fighting insecurity, we want Karamoja to have water. That water is going to do a lot of things. It will do irrigation of our crops. It will also work for the cattle because they move with the cattle looking for water. So that is our dream. We want to have that lake in Karamoja. And the water is natural. It will come from heaven and from here. And we keep it. We are trapping water in one place such that it feeds Karamoja. But also the project of continuing with the valley dams, it is also ongoing. As I speak now, every district has about 2 or 3 valley dams. And we are adding because we want...
The problem is they are dug and then they sealed.
So the policy is to have a valley dam in every parish of Karamoja. So we have started. It's ongoing. We have now covered around 40% of the district, and I'm sure by the end of these 5 years, Karamoja will have water. That is why I'm saying that Karamoja is going to become a food basket for this country because they have expanse of land. They are energetic people. The energy they use on rustling, they can transform it and use it on agriculture. As government, we are now focusing on agriculture, commercialization of agriculture. We want to have, you have heard Museveni that we are no longer working for we don't want Ugandans to work for the stomach alone. You work for the stomach, but also export and sell some.
Why are you trying to make Karamoja a food basket as opposed to making it a meat basket, if you like, for the continent?
But meat is food.
Okay, fine.
Meat is food.
Okay.
So they will rear cows. What we want is, we don't want them to rustle cows. We want them to rear cows. You rear cows and you...
But some say that that's their culture. It's part of who they are.
Our cultures,
rustling is who they are.
Bad cultures should be thrown away. Just as we have thrown away the bad culture of female mutilation. It's a bad culture in Sebei, and we have said no to it. If rustling is the culture of Karamoja, it's a bad culture, and we have to get rid of it. We have got rid of it. It has returned slowly, but now this is a small part. Previously, it was worse. If you're a journalist, you couldn't go to Karamoja, you couldn't cross to Karamoja.
Of course, I remember the times when Pade Yankunda was there.
And tour. There are very good hotels in Karamoja, very good roads in Karamoja. Tourists are going to Karamoja, NGOs are in Karamoja. So this small returning of guns is not going to defeat us when we defeated the biggest one.
Good. I like Karamoja. I was in Karamoja some 3 or 4 years ago, and I wondered why our capital is not there. But that's a subject for another matter. Let me talk about poverty in Karamoja. There's a lot of poverty there, a reason for which kids are sold from that place and you find them on Kampala Street.
That is a bad thing that we have also to get rid of it. We have to ensure that children do not cross from Karamoja to Kampala or to Mbale or to Jinja. Not that there is a lot of poverty in Karamoja. The Karamojongs are rich. You go there. Somebody owning 100 gundi, 1,000 cows, is that person a poor person? Somebody owning hectares of land, is that person a poor person?
Absolutely not.
It's not. There is no poverty in Karamoja. Poverty was in Karamoja before the NRM government came in power. But when NRM government came in power, slowly the people of Karamoja are very rich. They are educated. You see, have seen them in parliament, very educated men and women. Karamojongs are now educated. Not all of them are, but now since there is universal primary education and universal secondary education, and also a scheme loan at the university level, Karamoja will be fine.
Yeah, one of them is the DPP of this republic.
Talk about it.
So do you think that it is easy now that you're coming into office after the work of the First Lady, after the work of, I think, Honourable, was it Owundo? After the work of Honourable Byabagambi
and Honourable Moses Kisige?
Yes. Is it easier for you building on their work there? Or are there areas in which you are going to reinvent the wheel?
No, we shall, but already good work is in place. Just as I told you, the First Lady started the dams. They are going on well. The First Lady started the Feed Karamoja program, Karamoja Feed Karamoja, by encouraging Karamojongs to go into commercial agriculture. And they are doing well. So many things are in place. You know, my senior is also a Mugisu, Dr. Goret Mary Kitutu. We are going to put hands together and build on what the First Lady started on, what Byabagambi continued with, and we have also come in to build on from there.
But I've heard people there saying that they don't like the idea of non-Karamojong who don't even know the language being made ministers there.
Those ones, for us, tribalism in government, we don't allow it. And that is what we are going to start. From time immemorial, you don't appoint a minister of Munyoro and you take there a Munyoro. That is wrong. We are working for Uganda. We are not working for tribes. I have been appointed to work for the country. Service delivery, and not to work for a certain ethnic group. No. I am a minister. I will work for Bugisu. I will work for Karamoja. I will work for the rest of the country as a minister of government. So those people who are bringing up tribalism, no. We don't want tribalism anymore in Uganda. That happened in the past governments. We don't want it to happen in this government.
We don't want tribalism in Uganda, and we don't want anyone messing around with time for breaks. When we take a break, we will return from that one and we'll be talking Bududa, because she knows a thing or two about growing up in the mountains and surviving water running from the hills when we come back from the break. It is NBS Face Off, and I am seated with the Honourable Agnes Nandutu. She is a minister within the Prime Minister's office. Her docket is Karamoja. On March 1st, 2010, a major landslide happened on Mount Elgon. This is territory you know very well. It was triggered by heavy rains, they always are, and lasted for over 3 months. The land went down, burying villages in Bududa district, and over 400 people were displaced, and an estimated 5,000 people, 400 killed, estimated 5,000 ended up being displaced. How do you solve a problem like this?
I think it is already being solved. Government has resettled a number of people. Some of them have been resettled in Kiriandongo, and others are being resettled in Bulambuli. It's also another region. But we thank God this time it hasn't happened. But one of my priorities in Bududa is to plant trees. The trees have been destroyed and on the hills. That is why, and our soils are very soft. So I am embarking on the project of planting trees in Bududa. I want every home to plant the trees. That's why we have also written a request to the President Yoweri Museveni to stop the relocating of people from Bugisu sub-region to other regions. We want urbanization to take place such that people who are affected by the landslides in the mountains are settled in the lowlands. Because not the whole part of Bugisu region of Bududa is landslide prone. There are lowlands where we can settle people such that these people can go back and plant the trees. So we want to plant the trees that can do well together with coffee and bananas, such that our forest Bududa, and it becomes as green as before.
So you think
there were no landslides?
So you think those taken to Chiriandongo should never have been taken to another place?
In my own opinion.
Why?
Because you are being taken away from your place where you have stayed, your culture. Now, I don't even think they practice circumcision in Chiriandongo. I'm sure they are just going to hospitals. In Bududa, we want to dance Kadodi when you are going for Imbaru. So the culture slowly dies when you go to another place that has a different culture. You kill also the language. The children are going to speak another language. So we encourage settling people within their regions, within their districts. And that one we have made a request to the president, and he has allowed it. Now money is going to be invested in urbanizing districts that are landslide prone, such that people can be able to plant trees where landslides have taken place.
My producer reported some of those landslides, and up to now I still can't understand, and other Ugandans can't understand, how you can be rescued from a place where your relatives were buried, and after the rains are gone, you go back there.
Because of the culture. You know, if
Isn't
they shift you from
isn't
one
culture
home,
cognizant of risk?
if you are shifted from the home you grew from to another home, you can't be comfortable. You can never be comfortable. So they feel they miss home. They are homesick. As I tell you, the people who are Kiriandongo are homesick. That's why sometimes they cross over and come home, stay there for a week and go back. Because they are missing their people at home. They are missing their relatives. Though some of them died, but you know, even when somebody dies, you want to be looking at the grave.
Okay.
Yep.
So you think government has gotten the whole thing right? Because every time there are issues there, then we get new issues, the response comes late. Now you're in the Prime Minister's office. What are you planning to do to make sure that when these unfortunate incidents happen, there's a quick response? Because at least you understand the place.
There's always been a quick response, Mr. Kasumba. There have always been a quick response. That's why there's resettlement. That's why they bought land.
What I mean by...
That's why they bought land in Bulambuli to resettle these people.
What I mean by...
So that is already a quick response.
What I mean by slow response...
When these landslides happen, the Minister of Disaster Preparedness has always rushed with food. They have always rushed with blankets. They have always brought tents to make people temporary settlement for them to be resettled in other places. So there has always been quick response, and there will always be quick response.
What I mean by slow response is that you have a landslide, and then we see people using bare hands and shovels to dig the ground to look for bodies. That should be the work of excavators.
But that happens if you get a calamity that has come pop. What do? By the time you go and bring an excavator in Kampala, you already begin with a hole to rescue those who are near. So when a calamity happens, those are the quick responses. Hand, you use your hands, you use the energy as you go and bring something.
But when we are talking about landslides, we are not talking about COVID. We are talking about landslides that are results of rains. Rain warns because they are seasons. And then you know from the meteorological department that there will be rain and there will be a lot of rain. Why aren't we ready for these things?
When landslides happened in Bututa, excavators went. You didn't see them? They were even lifted by plane. Because vehicles could not move to uphill. They were taken by plane. That was already a quick response. So I don't want you to deceive Ugandans that when the landslides happen in Bududa, there are no quick responses. And that's why there is food bought in the Ministry of in the Prime Minister's office, in the disaster ministry. If anything happens, a calamity happens, already the team runs on ground. It has happened in Ekasese. The team is already there on the ground.
But we have heard people saying that the most unprepared ministry in this country is the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness.
They don't know what happens there, but it is well prepared. Very well prepared.
Is it very well funded?
Well, very well funded. That's why there is food when calamities happen. That's why people are settled when calamities happen. It is well funded. Do you know the project of Ulambuli? Billions of money were invested there. Billions of money have been invested in Kiriandongo to resettle the people. So it is well funded. There is a small resource envelope, but the money that is there is being used to ensure that people who are affected by calamities, natural calamities, are resettled and
You mentioned something, and I'd like to take you back to that, and very passionate about your culture. What more needs to be done to make Bugisu and the circumcision festival an international destination? Because I know that there are probably some people in Europe who would want to come to your homeland to get their kids circumcised if you advertise it very well.
They fear. They only want to watch, but I don't think they want to be circumcised the way Mugisu gets circumcised. I think that the Uganda Tourism Board has taken key interest in promoting that culture of Mugisu. And we always have a launch. We did not have it this time because of COVID.
Obviously, yes.
Because of COVID. But tourists have already discovered. As I tell you, Kadodi is now being used in all campaigns throughout the country, even across the country in Kenya. Even in Rwanda, you will find Kadodi there. So it is already advertised. We only need to put in more resources to make it. And you remember...
Shouldn't you trademark it?
I think we should. I think we should. You remember I organized a Kadodi festival here in Kampala myself. And it was well attended by international people. So we just need to organize it much more better. And we do it twice in a year. We do it in August and in December. And we do it in an official place called Mutoto. That is where we launch it from. And when you go there, you will find Americans, you will find Canadians, you will find people from all parts of the world coming to watch circumcision.
Is it a circumcision festival or a circumcision and sex fest?
No. You know where people converge, many people. Even you, when you converge somewhere, you look at a beautiful girl and you admire. Where people converge, such things happen. But it's not official that it's a sex, no. It is a circumcision festival where we circumcise the people. But because the dancers are the girls, people think otherwise. But as you know, things happen when people become many. And when people, you know, circumcision festival, there is always drinking. So people are intoxicated. So you don't know what happens underground, but it's not official. We don't do that. We only get happy that our boys are getting from childhood, from a boy to manhood. And that is why we dance. We get happy. We do all sorts of things, but it's not. I refuse it. It's not a sex festival. Please, abominable. It's not.
And in terms of making sure that it is safe and we don't end up with unwanted pregnancies and multiplying of poverty, what do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, we have worked with a number of NGOs. And it is very difficult to fight a culture. But at least now there is a reduction in pregnancies during circumcision period. Because we are sensitizing parents to take keen interest of their girl child when there is circumcision time. It is an open secret that during circumcision period, there are very many unwanted pregnancies among the girls. And
because as the boys mature, the girls also want to test whether they are mature.
That is true, but we are slowly fighting it, and the percentages have reduced. Because we are encouraging girls to be in school. When it is circumcision period, mother, keep your girl at home. If you're a girl and you're going to dance during the day and go back home.
That's difficult in Bugisu, I can tell you.
It has happened. It has happened. It has happened and it will happen. We shall end it.
And maybe before we get out of this segment, what also needs to be done more to continue on the good work done of reading Sebei of female genital mutilation? It's not too far from your area as well.
Yeah, but there is a law already in place.
Okay.
There is a law. We have banned.
But I hear many men in Sebei are saying, this is our culture, you can have your laws, our girls will still get cut. And now, some are getting cut in quiet.
People who have now gone to school have said no to female mutilation in Sebei. Okay. I have done very many stories, by the way. I have done many stories when it was still too rife in Sebei. But now, they do it, but in hiding. It is not as open as it used to be. And now they have sensitized the people. Okay. Girls are going to school, and the girls are, if you have a family that is so much, you know, into the culture, the girls run away and go to school.
We're going into the break, and I can tell you that segment, especially on circumcision, has even gotten my camera persons excited. But even more excitement when we talk about her journalism career and how she left Parliament only to come back to the front bench. I do have Honourable Agnes Nandutu. They say that once a journalist always a journalist, and nobody ever leaves journalism. Did she leave journalism or not? We'll ask her. What led to your expulsion out of Parliament in 2017? And some even say that changes happened in Parliament to make sure you don't return.
Yeah. It was my critical journalism, my critical reporting, stepping on the toes of the big people, which I don't want to mention here. Okay. But that led to my expulsion because I wasn't the only one. There was Jingo Francis, there was Yasin, who were the people who could not be compromised as journalists in Parliament. You have seen people who get compromised, they even engage in campaigns when they are journalists. We weren't that type of journalists.
So in Parliament, journalists get compromised deliberately?
A number of them, not all of them, but some individuals get compromised. So we were I was one of the journalists who could not be compromised.
What did they want you to do that you didn't want to do?
I told you I stepped on the toes of big people. And I don't want to mention their names here. We have now seized fire and we are now friends. I don't want to talk about it. But I was expelled. First of all, they brought a policy that those journalists who have stayed in Parliament for a long time should go and exchange with others. We challenged it and it failed. So they came. Those who don't have degrees should go out of. When they discovered I did not have a degree, they brought the degree thing. But unfortunately, Jingo had a degree, Yasini Mugero had a degree, and many others had a degree, but we were expelled from Parliament. So it was a bad intention. It was for bad intention.
The argument was that it's raising the quality of journalists in Parliament. Maybe they had it.
But I am a quality journalist.
Well, they argue that if you don't have a degree, you don't have quality.
Having a degree is not being quality. I'm one of the best journalists in this country. You should know that.
I'm not questioning that.
I have got very many awards, so that means I am a quality journalist. I have won very many awards. I have never reported a story that has ever been refuted. That means I am a quality journalist.
Was that painful, the way in which you were expelled?
It has to be painful. Somebody wakes up and tells you you were not supposed to. And they did not even chase me out of Parliament as a journalist, but I was a person and creator in Parliament. I couldn't go there even as a Ugandan. I couldn't even step in Parliament to go and check on my representative of Vududa. I couldn't. The police told me, no, for you can't enter Parliament. So that's how it was. It was painful.
You were a persona non grata in Parliament.
I was. But now who can stop me?
So you never stepped in Parliament from 2017 till when?
I stepped there once. I went there. I was going to pick a Christmas hamper from Jacob Olanya, the speaker now, from Right Honourable Jacob Olanya. And they stopped me until Jacob Olanya made calls to allow me go and pick my Christmas hamper in Parliament. So that was the situation, but now we have seized the fire. It has ended. I have forgiven those who expelled me from Parliament, and I pray for them. That one has ended, but it was painful. But I told them one word, that I have gone out of Parliament as a journalist. I am coming back as a member of Parliament.
Oh, you said that?
I told them. And
do you think that, looking back, that if you had not been expelled from Parliament the way you were, you'd never be where you are today? In a sense that God does things for us in ways we don't know.
I think so. I think so. It is true. I don't know. What God prepares. For us, we have a saying that what God has prepared for a poor person will never rot. At one time, whether you get it earlier or later, you'll get it. I think that was a prepared opportunity for me. So
did you have this feeling of, you are sending me out of this place as a reporter, what's so big about this? Let me come back and sit there.
As a journalist, and fortunately, I have not only come back to sit in Parliament as an MP, but I'm on the front bench. I'm on the front bench. I am a minister.
But there were also issues within that association of reporters of parliament, and we hear that there was also corruption inside that very association, for which you probably were part of the leadership.
I think it happened. I think the corruption came in when I left. Remember, I was, for 5 years, I was the first woman president of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, and I led that association for 5 years in the 9th Parliament. In the 9th Parliament, I was the president. I also opened a circle. So if corruption has happened, it happened when I left. But when I was there, it was a very vibrant association.
Have you heard that it's paid to kill stories? That association?
I have heard those stories. I have even seen one of them being engaged in campaigns as a journalist, which is unethical. I have seen some of them go on Facebook, promote politicians. Instead of reporting about politicians, they promote politicians, which is wrong as a journalist, and it's unethical. And I actually tell them point blank that you are no longer journalists.
Point blank again. How can we improve journalism and reporting in Uganda? You've 20 years of experience, beginning with Radio
I think training
Uganda.
is very, very important. And ACME is doing that. ACME is doing that. Training, even if you have got a degree, but they should get training. They should do, actually, by the time I left as the president, I was already soliciting funding from the French embassy, from the American embassy, to ensure that these journalists even go out of the country to go and train and become more strong.
Okay.
Become better.
But journalism should not be too happy that it is losing some of its best. I mean, we're talking about you. We're talking about Honourable Joyce Bagala. We're talking about quite a number. Solomon Serwanja has left. Shirando Huchire has left. It's not a very good thing for journalists to be losing its best ones.
It is also our industry. You know, you are aware, it is not new to you, that we are not well paid. We are not well paid. When they see us on air, when they see us on air they think you are well paid. Indeed, we are not. We are celebrities in this country, but we remain at that. So until the industry comes up with a good pay for journalists, you have seen journalists internationally, they retire in newsrooms because they are well paid. They get money, they take their children to school, but in journalism we struggle. So when you get a PR job somewhere, which is paying you better than a newsroom, you will definitely
Do you think government should come in?
I think government
to change the pay of journalism, because the fourth estate is a very big part of national development.
The government has now liberalized the economy. The economy has been liberalized. You see, even in the education sector, you have seen teachers are poorly paid because they are private. Liberalization. You have seen hospitals overcharging. The liberalization has not also come well, but I think we should have policies that regulate these sectors. That's why I encourage Parliament to pass the minimum wage, such that workers are well paid. If you are not paid well, you will go for another job. And I want to assure you, if you got a job in URA, as a spokesperson, I'm sure you will leave this place.
I don't think I would. I have my own reasons for wanting to stay here. You did many stories in the newsroom. Which one stands out? One that you did and you felt very proud of yourself?
I have done a number of stories. You know, I'm very passionate about community stories.
Okay.
Community stories. I did stories about post-war recovery in northern Uganda. They were so touching. I did stories about education, but the story that was too much publicized, that put me on top of the world, was the NSSF Temangalo land scandal, which involved the big people, which involved the big and rich people. I did that story. There were a lot of compromises that came my way as a poor girl, but I closed my eyes. And I will never forget the NSSF Temangalo story.
Did you get threatening calls?
A lot.
Did you sleep home?
I slept home. I said, if you kill me, you will also die. They brought money in sacks for me. I rejected it.
You've seen money in sacks?
Oh, you ask Jingo Francis. They brought for us 2 sacks of money. Jingo 1, me 1. who said we have never had this kind of money, where are we taking it? So that was a story that I enjoyed, but I also did it with passion because this money was for the workers of Uganda. It was my money. I also saved with NSSF. It was Ugandans' money being misused. So I said, if I am to dump this story, I am dumping my own. So I did it with passion, and I will never, never forget it. This story, no secret, involved Honourable Amama Mbabazi. But he remained my friend. Up to now, Amama Mbabazi is my friend. I did very bad stories about him. But good enough, he never hated me. Up to now, he calls him my friend. By the way, many people call Mama Mbabas. He doesn't pick. If I pick up my phone and call him, he will pick. Because we are friends. After that story, we became friends.
Very interesting. It's certainly been a pleasure having you on, Honourable Agnes Nandutu, one of our very own, and we certainly
we have really faced off. You have faced me off.
we will see you soon, and wish you very well in your new docket. This brings us very much to the end of this edition of Face Off. My producer and myself will be hunting for our next guest. As we always say, keep the standard operating procedures, because that's the only way you can give yourself a very good chance of watching the next edition of Face Off, not from a hospital bed and off an oxygen tank. And those are very rare. Good evening.